We're glad to have you aboard, and we believe that you're joining a good family here. We work together and we work hard. So Caitlin, here I come, and everybody, let's give Caitlin a big welcome.
We have a pretty packed schedule this morning with a lot of presentations and some exciting news. So we're going to move right along and pass it off to our first speaker, Dr. Melanie McClellan, the Director of Community Engagement.
Thank you. I was a little worried this morning when I was driving into campus and I saw all the signs about the Career Expo that said vendors here, parking here, and I thought, oh no, did I put the wrong date for this meeting? And it was yesterday and the career thing is today, so that's what I was hoping. So I just do. I had my phone right there. When you get to an age, you put things down, you can't find them, all those kinds of things. I'm not going to do a whole fancy PowerPoint today because I really just want to focus on a couple of very simple things. And those of you who don't know me, my background is student affairs. I figure y'all are my people, right? And so I can just talk to y'all. I don't have to do a whole fancy, presentation with poll everywhere and all those kinds of things. But before I start, I do want to recognize two people. I want to ask two folks, Alicia Welch. She's not here, okay. And then Caitlin, stand up. Because here's what I want y'all to know. In about 3 weeks, the University of West Georgia is going to be submitting our application to the Carnegie Foundation to be recognized as a community engaged institution. We're still writing on this, and it's up to 114 pages as of last night, and I've still got a few more to go. But there's been a team that's been working on this for several months, and Caitlin and Alicia are the two student affairs and enrollment managers who have been working on that, and they have been working hard. So please give her a hand to Alicia. I am tremendously excited about what we have learned from this process, and so give us a few weeks, we can calm down with it, and then we'll do some presentations around campus to let y'all know some of the amazing things that are happening that you may have no idea are happening all throughout our campus and our community. But today I want to do two things. I want to first of all talk about what community engagement is, and then secondly about things you might think about if you want to do community engagement or if you're already doing community engagement. And then I'm going to end this then by inviting you to think about this over the next few weeks. To begin to think about if this is something you want to do more with your department, and if so, we'll talk about how to pursue that. So, the first question is, what is community engagement? And I put my glasses on so I can read correctly. First of all, we're talking about engagement with the community as a part of your job. Not your volunteer work, not the stuff you participate in the community. Those are all great things, and I can help you with those, but that's not what we're talking about today. Community engagement means engagement with the community as a part of your job. So I want you to think about it just a minute. And all that is, community engagement is a mutually beneficial partnership with the community. Something that benefits the community, but also benefits the university and helps you to accomplish your own professional mission, okay? Now that means it's not for everybody. For some of y'all, you might not be able to figure out a way to do your job in a community-engaged way. And that's okay, but some of you can. And that's what we want to think about. Just think of it as one more method to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish anyway within your division and your departments. So first of all, even before I go any further, is anybody in here, do you think your department's doing something that would meet the definition of community engagement that benefits you? And stand up if you are. All right, I'm going to shout out what you think you're doing. Shout out what you think that is. The big event. America Reads, America Counts through Career Services. Internships, externships. Big event. Employer development, bringing employers in to hire students.
Jason Brett's one best presentation here shortly.
All right, Jason Brett. I think that's what I've heard is Jason Brett. No, his presentation here. So, all right. Well, here's what I'm going to have y'all do. We're going to think about this so you can begin to think about what you're doing. On your tables, there's just white sheets of paper. I'm not sure there's quite enough for everybody, but now you can share. I kept having difficulty explaining this concept to people. And so I finally decided in the fall, I did an LVI, that the easiest way to do it was do a checklist. And say, do I do this, do I do this, do I do that, will help you do it. So this checklist will help you determine whether what you're doing would meet the definition of community engagement, or it might help you if you're developing something. So, at the risk of reading to you, but I want to think about that just a second. Let's think about those we just called out. The first question, am I doing this in my role as a UWG employee? All of you who, ladies, why don't y'all stand back up if you did this, because I want you to wave yes or no as we go through this, okay? Everybody, if you stand up a minute ago, stand up. All right, so they met the first test. This is their role as a UWG employee, right? All right, second one. Is this a collaboration between UWG and the larger community? That could be local, regional, state, national, global. Did you meet that definition? All right. Thirdly, does it do one or more of the following? And if it does one of these, raise your hand if you think it does it. Does what you do enrich scholarship, research, and creative activity? Maybe a little bit. Not as much in student affairs and enrollment management as it does in some other divisions. Does it enhance the curriculum, teaching, and learning? Yep. Does it prepare educated, engaged citizens? All right. Does it strengthen democratic values and civic responsibility? All right. Does it address critical societal issues? All right. And does it contribute to the public good? All right, so it sounds to me we've got some community engaged projects going on over here, right? You can sit back down. This definition comes from the Carnegie Foundation. And those of you who don't know, it's the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. But that's the group that decides whether you're a comprehensive institution or a, what are the other levels of state college, all those levels of things. But they have another, what they call a voluntary classification, that you can apply for and also be called a community engaged institution. You can only apply for that every 5 years, and that's what we're working on now. The deadline is April 15th, the same as tax day. But our goal is to get that together a little bit earlier than that. And I will tell you, the team, I mentioned two, the others have been working on, we've been doing a self-study. We've been going through question after question after question to answer it and also figure out what we're doing well and what we're not doing well. That team, let's see if I can remember them, includes David Newton from Academic Affairs, Amber Smallwood, College of Social Sciences, Chapman Rackaway, Political Science, our two folks, Mark Reeves from Business and Finance, Amanda Thomas from Institutional Research. Who else am I missing? Do I? Amanda Wright from my office, yes, of course, because, that's where I rock with all this. Seems like one more person I can't. Anyway, they'll come in a minute. But we've, and Nicole Fannin from University Advancement. So we have someone from each of the major, we don't have ITS, but we have the other divisions, and we work with ITS. And then, so those are the people who have worked on this. And again, it's just absolutely fascinating. So we answered yes to some of those other things. So I want you to begin to think, let's take 2 minutes just to think. You don't have to, we're not going to share this yet, but think about your office mission, what you're trying to accomplish. Think about, do you have any ideas about how you might could do that in a community engaged way? And I'll give you like 45 seconds and we'll see if anybody happens to have any ideas, you can throw them out. Let's give just a second. You don't have to have this fully developed, obviously, at this point, with a plan. Does anybody have an inkling of an idea of something you might could do that would actually fulfill your departmental mission and also meet the community engagement definition? Anybody? Thoughts? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Then let me ask you this. Why don't you know, is it because you don't have enough time to think about it, or you just can't think in those ways? Any thoughts on that? Okay, meets all the criteria. All right, good, yeah. And please note on those things, those are all either, you have to answer all 3 questions, but within that, you don't have to meet all, you can be curricular engagement, or citizens, or, those kinds of things, so. And you may not have thought about this before, but I want you just to begin to think about that over the next few weeks. Now let me ask, again, I'm going to put you on the spot. Stand up again. Those of you that did this, you didn't know you were going to participate. I didn't know you were either. I just decided that a minute ago. What about, do you have any suggestions or any thoughts on what the challenges are about doing community engagement? Anybody thoughts on that? Keeping it going. Oh, good. That was my most important point to make later, Jason. Good job with that. No. So, what do you mean by that?
You have transition with community partners, and so it's keeping that, because one community partner's like, wow, we're really excited to work with West Georgia, and the other one's like, oh, I hate West Georgia. So we're trying to keep those kind of relationships together.
Did y'all hear that? Transition community partners. One loves us, one hates us. How do you keep it going? Let me give you a little secret. If I were to ask this in the community, they would say, all that turnover at West Georgia, you have a good relationship and then he's gone. So it's an issue from both sides about doing that. Other challenges.
We've sometimes told that West Georgia is too far out for us to come to recruit.
Okay.
We go, hello, you can get from here to downtown Atlanta faster than you can from the north side of Atlanta to downtown. So,
Yeah.
we're not that far out.
Well, she's talking about if you take the broader community trying to get in the Atlanta area, there are people thinking, oh, it's too far away. I can remember many years ago, there was something going on in Atlanta, and somebody from, somewhere in North Atlanta said, do you want to come and spend the night? And I'm like, I'm closer than you are, you know? But you're way over in Alabama. Well, not quite, but even then. So, yeah. So some of it's a perception of us and who we are and where we are and those things. Other challenges come to mind? Sometimes it's getting the students to be a part. How do I motivate them? How do I keep them motivated? How do I help them understand it's important and useful and interesting? How do we even reach them? Which is a challenge for everything we do, right? In our world of information overload. Okay, I'm not going to make y'all stand up again, okay? I don't think. I might change my mind in a minute. That wasn't part of my script anyway, so. So I want to do, the second thing I want to do is I do want to talk about what are some things you might think about if you're thinking about doing a community engaged approach. And you've already hit on some of them. Those are the things at the bottom of that list. The first part of that list, something I handed out earlier, and then I added this to the bottom. And I'm going to talk briefly about those. If you're thinking about doing this, the first thing you want to know is what are your goals for this partnership or project? Do you want students to learn something? If so, what? Like, do you want them to, let's suppose you're trying to do some volunteer stuff. Do you want them to learn about the value of volunteering? Let's suppose at the soup kitchen. You want them to volunteer at the soup kitchen. Do you want them to learn the value of volunteering? Do you want them to learn about poverty and hunger? Do you want them to reflect on that and how it might affect their own lives and their own career choices? Do you want them to learn that the university is basically undependable and they haven't done any planning? Do you want them to learn that it doesn't really matter whether I show up or not? These people, don't really care. Do you want them to learn it's really important that I show up on time? These people really care. So think about what you want them to learn. Now that's one option. It may not be student learning, depending on your job. Or student development, a little bit broader than student learning. Or maybe it's something to do with recruitment, retention, progression, graduation. So as you think about, is there something that you can do engaging with the community that will benefit all those things? But the first thing is decide what you're trying to accomplish by that. Then you decide the next question, what do you need to do to reach those goals? Now all this sounds sort of like, obvious, but you'd be amazed how it's not obvious when we see the problems with things. Let's suppose, for example, let's suppose you set your goals, you know what you want to have happen. Do students need to have training before they go and do this, for example? Or you just want to send them out? Or do they need to have a reflective piece about this, if you want to really think it through? Do the partners need training about this? What kind of communication do you need to develop? I don't know if it's still true, but a couple years ago, 4 years ago, when I moved into this role, we were trying, one of our biggest issues of agencies, nonprofit agencies, is they would say that students would sign up for something and not show up. And at that time, I think it was Dustin that was in the role here, and did some research. And that was a national problem. And some university somewhere had done some research and found out that if students are reminded 4 times, they would show up. That was their thing they found out. That was the way to do it. So you'd go, oh, those students, oh, those students. Well, you could do that. You could say the same thing about me, that I drove in this morning and panicked for a minute and thought maybe I'm in the wrong time. But my phone reminded me, Caitlin reminded me. So we all do this. It's just that sometimes 18 and 19-year-olds haven't learned how to do that yet. But this particular university figured that out. And so they built that into their planning. Okay, we're going to send them a text. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. A few years ago, we also we had a grad assistant from the CSA program who did an internship when I first moved into this, and she surveyed students to ask, why would you sign up for something and not show up? Anybody want to make some guesses what they said? I forgot. Number 1, need to be reminded. What else?
I didn't understand what I was signing up for.
I didn't understand what I was signing up for. And so all of a sudden it shows up and it's like, oh, yeah. What? The value, you're like, well, something better came up. What? Some people said, I didn't know how to dress. And I remember many, many years ago when I was doing my doctorate at Ohio State, and I decided I was living too much in my head, and so I got involved in some volunteer activities with a local homeless shelter. And honestly, I spent 40 minutes trying to figure out how to dress that day, because I didn't want to dress too nicely. I didn't want to dress too poorly. Many years later after that, when I was here and we housed 200 Katrina evacuees on campus, I knew there was a possibility the news media would show up, and I really did. I had a zillion things to think about as what do I wear today. I want to be comfortable so I can move around quickly. I want to be professional because I might be on TV. I don't want to look intimidating to these folks who have nothing. So that's a silly thing, right? But if I was doing that at 35 and then again at 50, then why would I have expected a 17 or 18-year-old to do that? So, so just it's learning about them is what I'm saying. You might want to think about why might they not be showing up and those kinds of things. The next thing, I'm going to get my 2 handouts here correctly, is to ask yourself, how will you know if you achieved the goals? That just comes right back to assessment. Doesn't have to be complicated, but just, okay, I've sent these folks out, I think it's great, but what if I'm the only one that thinks it's great? So think about how you're going to find out afterwards. Is it a survey? Is it conversations? Is it something more formal assessment? But then the next 4 all have to do with one word, and that's listen. So the next 4 have to do with what's the community partner's goals, how will you know, what do you need to know about the community partner, what does your community partner need to know about you, or the students, or West Georgia. Ideally, when you're creating a community-engaged project, you co-create it. Ideally, it's you and the community partner create it together. Instead of you saying, I've got a, hi, Vicki, I know you work with the homeless. Well, I've been at the university. I don't really know anything about homelessness, except I read a book about it once, but I have a great program. I'll come tell you how to do this. Here you go. Yeah. We come across that some way, like that sometimes at university. Let us come in and tell you how to solve your problems. People from outside come across that way to us sometimes too, right? I went to college. I know how to do it. So ideally you want to co-create this with the folks you're working with. You don't need to assume that you won't know that you both want the same thing or understand each other. For example, career services people can probably relate to this. A common issue with employers and students in internships is that the employer has one set of expectations for this. The university has another set of expectations. The students may have a third set of expectations. One of the best examples I can give you is there are employers out there who are nonprofits who believe, because a lot of people that do volunteer work are my age, a lot of nonprofit people. And if they haven't worked on a university campus, they're probably not as comfortable with technology even as I am, which is really kind of scary. But they will think, we're going to get a student out here to help us do our social media, okay? But they must know how to do social media. They're on their phones all the time, right? So, if I'm an employer and I want to bring a student in And my goal is for them to help me do social media. If the university, the faculty, career service, whatever, if their goal is, we want this student to go out there to learn how to do social media, guess what? It's not going to be a good match. Or if this is someone who hasn't done a lot of supervision of 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds, particularly recently, they might not necessarily know how to supervise them. So they go, oh, those kids today, oh, those millennials, oh, those whatever. So don't assume, it really is sit down and talk with each other. What are you trying to accomplish? What are they trying to accomplish? And try to come to a shared understanding of that. The next one on the list is huge. And Jason, if I had candy to give out, Jason, you would have gotten a piece of candy. I do that sometimes. I didn't do it today, sorry. I owe you a Hershey bar or something, right? And that is, how will you handle the transitions during student turnover or staff turnover? Now, Jason taught about how do you handle the transitions during community partner turnover. And you need to work on that. But I'm going to tell you our biggest weakness as a university probably is we don't always do a good job of handling the staff and student turnover out there. We do it with other things. It doesn't matter how many young staff come and go or old staff come and go. We recruit people every year. We admit people every year. We register them. We get them financial aid. We open the residence halls. We do all of those things regardless of who is in the office. But sometimes the community stuff, we're not as good about that. It's been Jennifer's passion to work with animal shelter. And so she has gone out and developed this. This is great. And then she, wins the lottery and moves somewhere else. And so the people in the community have learned to depend on us for the animal shelter. And there are no plans in place whatsoever to continue that beyond her. My phone reminded me, which is good, that I need to get close to finishing up, which I'm going to. So you need to have a transition plan. And that's a key. I will give you a good example. No one mentioned it as a community engaged activity, but it's a good example. It's a good example of transition planning. Safe Tree by Housing and Residence Life. Or whatever, is it Residence Life? I don't know what your name is these days. Housing and Residence Life, okay, sorry. That is a community engaged activity. And it doesn't matter who comes and goes, that has continued. And it's continued well. It would be pretty bad if whoever's in charge left, and so the next year it was like these little kids are just crossing the street and nobody's thought about maybe checking with the police about having those kids cross the street, right? Or figured out how you do the lighting and all that. So that is huge. And that is something that if you're an individual doing it's important. If you're a department head, it's your responsibility to figure this out. Don't go get the people in town's hopes up and get them dependent on you if you're not planning to continue this. That doesn't mean you have to do the same thing every year. If you were to decide tomorrow to discontinue any one of these things, just have a plan for doing it. How am I going to communicate with someone about that? How am I going to thank people? All those kinds of things. So that's, I think, important. Then the other one that you need to ask yourself is, are there any other potential partners on campus? You would be amazed how often one of us is doing something with the only person doing it. A lot of people, when they ask what I do in this job, I tell them that I'm really like Match.com for the university. Okay? Doesn't mean I can find you dates or partners, sorry about that. But it means someone in town is talking about something and they want to know, I wonder if someone on campus can help me with such and such. Someone on campus said, gosh, I wonder if anybody does this. And a lot of my job is to get them at the table. But you'd be surprised the number of times my job is to get people from the university at the table. I'm going to give you a real perfect example. It hasn't happened yet, but it started. I was working with the Carrollton County Education Collaborative, specifically with the early learning team, because we have learned that the kind of learning that happens from birth to 5 is huge, huge. Many of the issues you deal with students now has to do with how they develop between birth and 2, and many parents and caregivers don't know that. And so we have an early learning team that includes us, West Georgia Tech, the 2 school systems, the library, the county commission, the hospital, I can't forget who else talking about things. At one of our meetings last year, a person from the county school systems she had been powerfully moved by an experience she shared with us. It was first week of school or week before school started or something, and there was a Hispanic woman and her 2 children that were there. And she had a 7-year-old who had never been to school. The mother had not registered him for school because she was afraid. She didn't speak English, and everything she could see on TV, he was not born in the United States, her other child was born in the United States. And she was scared to death if she brought that child in, that somebody might take him away from her or send her home or split the family up or do something like that. Fortunately, as is so often in communities, there was one of those wonderful maternal figures in the community that sort of helped communicate with everybody else. And she told the mama, the kid needs to be in school, you can trust teachers, and I will go with you. And so she was there getting him registered. And our concern had become, was she also avoiding other things like that, like getting health care, other kinds of things, because of her misunderstanding of those things. So the person in the county schools she'd been touched by this. And first of all, the one part I loved, she said, we got to register. And I went and talked to every single teacher. I said, by God, this kid's going to have the best experience of his life. And if he doesn't, you've got to answer to me, which I thought was wonderful. But then we started talking, we just talked and we listened, and we began to talk about what were those other issues, again, with health care or transportation or other things. We didn't resolve it, but we left it there. Probably, and so let's keep thinking about it. 2 weeks later, I get an email from Tammy Ogletree in College of Education. Melanie, we have a new faculty member. His background is English as a second language. There's some really good grants out there to do education in Hispanic communities, Latino communities. Do you know anybody I should talk to about this? Well, as a matter of fact, I do. And so I emailed her back. I copied the 2 people from the school systems and said, y'all figure this out, whoever you need to talk to. I then also said, and on campus, this is who works with Latino Student Sorority, who might be some good folks to have a particular interest in this. So got that kind of conversation going. Then I was able to share a particular person who worked on our campus who had that kind of experience as a child and is now a successful professional. And I said, she might be good in connecting with the community. So sure enough, she said, oh yeah, here's the 3 businessmen in town you need to talk to and do this. So I don't know where that's going to go, but the point is that all those people could have been working independently and never talked to each other. So I think that's the other thing I'm asking. And now I'm ready to conclude. My conclusion is I want you just to begin to really think about your work. You don't have time to do it right now. I know you've got so much time in the next few weeks, right? But sometimes you have to think about something besides finishing the year up. You gotta start thinking about other things. You need a break. This is fun stuff. So just think about your work, your goals, what you're trying to accomplish, and think, I wonder if I can do that in a community-engaged way. I wonder if there's a way I can involve my staff or my students in the community in a meaningful way that will serve the community and communities abroad, and that will also help me accomplish my goals, or my students' goals. So just be thinking about that. Now, I'm officially 49%er. I retired in 2011, and then because of the nature of my retirement, I can work 49%, or I can get paid 49%, and without messing up my retirement benefits. It's a good deal, guys, just so you know. But, so I agreed to take this job on 4 years ago, and my commitment ends June 30th. So, that doesn't mean I won't be around, and I'm actually maybe still be in the CCEC. But, between now and June 30th, if you're just thinking, I want someone to talk through this, just email me. I'm happy to sit down with you and just think it through with you. If it's after June 30th, I could probably be persuaded to have the conversation. It's just I'm not going to do any work afterwards to make it happen. But my office staff will do that because we're working on transition plans, right? So I'm going to invite you to think about that. Just be thinking about your work and open your minds up. When you're driving through town, all those kinds of things, do that. And the other thing I would say is, even though I'm not talking about your personal involvement today, we can help you with that too. So if you are thinking, gosh, I really need to get outside of my head, like I did when I was in grad school. I need to volunteer, I need to get a civic organization, I need to whatever, I need to know what's going on in town. Our office can help you with all of those things. All you have to do is email me or call me. I'm going to ask you one last favor, and I will send an email and ask someone to put it on the listserv. I used to have access to the student affairs listserv, but they took me off finally. But I bet if I get it to Teresa, no, I don't need it, it's okay. But it can probably go to Teresa, and she will send it to you. there's one question on the Carnegie application I haven't known the answer yet, okay? There's a question that asks us about publications that faculty have done based on community engagement, slash that part off, and about consulting that they have done that. But it also asks about, are there examples of staff professional activity related to community engagement? That can be conference presentations, publications, consulting, awards, etc. And so I knew that somebody here probably had that. So I'm going to email, if you have done something in the last year actually, that you might think, if you don't know, just send it to me and I'll figure it out. It could be a presentation you did at a professional conference that this is how we do one of these things we just talked about. Or it could be, I got recognized because of such and such. It could be, I just consulted with someone, I sat down and had a conversation with them. But if you did something in your job that you would consider that, I'm going to ask you to share it with me so I can list you in there. So I thought about asking to write it today, but I thought, no, y'all got enough going on. But I'll send the email tomorrow and ask you to do that in the next few days, though. So, and I think that's it. Let me see. I have exactly 1 more minute. I thought about telling you some of the other great stuff we're doing on campus. We don't have time for it, but I want you to watch for that. I will read you off the list of the partnerships that we really highlighted. Carrollton County Education Collaborative, Power Up for 30 Certificate Program, the West Georgia Nonprofit Network, the Southwire Sustainable Business Honors Program, the Other Night School, State of Community, Dine West Project Search, the West Georgia Textile Heritage Trail, the Academic Practice Partnership through Nursing, Greenbelt the Bike Share, the Comprehensive Community Clinic, Water Quality Monitoring, and the New Health Center, which I added when I was sitting in the dedication last week. So that's just one of a few that we're highlighting. There are probably 50 or 60 others, and we will share more about that soon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Melanie. We're going to move along with our community engagement theme and open it up to Jason, who's going to talk to us about One West and Red and Blue Crew.
All right, good morning, everybody. How you doing? Thanks, Cassidy. I appreciate you looking out for me. I'm going to invite Stephen Willock to come up with me. Am I okay down here, or do I need to be on the stage? I hate you. So we're here to talk about a couple of housing initiatives that we know about in housing, we're really excited about, and sometimes I mention it to a campus party, and you guys are like, what is that? And so I spend 10 minutes talking about it, and 5 minutes later, someone, what's One West? Well, I spent 10 minutes talking about it then. So we wanted to come today and talk to you about our 2 initiatives that we're doing. This is our logo, of course. So our next slide is, oh, you got a clicker. One West. So, everyone at their table has a little brochure. Yay! Right? So this is our One West brochure, or you might hear it referred to as the off-campus partners. We're trying to get rid of that verbiage, so everything you hear now is One West. And so these are our 7 One West partners. You can see them all listed there. We actually have some of them in the room, so I'm going to ask some of the property managers to stand up so they can be recognized that these are some of our property managers. They want to come to the meeting. So we have Carrollton Crossing, the Grumble, the Reserve, River Point, Student Quarters, Timbercrest, and City Station. Some of those names are, where is that? Those have been renamed. Flats at 316 is now Timbercrest, and all those fun things. So look through this. This is what we give out. Go to the next thing. This just describes everything. Go to the next slide. And this is a map. So it's in the brochure too. You can see where everything is in relation to campus. And so I wanted to give a time to talk about, and let Stephen talk a little bit about what the partnership is, where we were, where it came from, and how we've developed it, and where we're going. So Stephen, if you would talk to us about what brought this relationship on.
So we've been working with the One West Partnership for about 5 years now. It came out of an intention to expand our influence. We only have 3,000 beds on campus. That's a lot if you ask my housing staff. But we realized there's an additional 10,000 students living somewhere in the community. And if we're going to really focus on RPG, retention, progression, and graduation, then we realize there's upwards of 10,000 more students that could use the valuable resources that exist here on this campus. And so we established the affiliate relationship. We studied best practices. We traveled up to the University of Louisville. They're one of the best in the region that are doing this, and we figured out how to build a relationship with our off-campus partners because we realized there's another 3,000 within a mile of our campus living. Some of our partners sitting with us right now. So how can we reach out to them? How can we partner with them? And how can we make sure that our students, not just on-campus students, are getting connections, resources to matriculate through our system appropriately? And housing and residence life on campus should be bigger than just on-campus residents. And so are we serving a greater population? That's what we're trying to do here. For our partners, right now, it is heavily a marketing relationship. And why are we focusing more on that at step one? And we are also doing a programmatic thing. But we figured if we can infiltrate their properties with all of our students, then we will push out, in a positive way, those people that are not there for good reasons. We can focus on our students and enhancing the programming going on in those properties. And so the marketing is important. It's taken 2 or 3 years to increase their capacity for more West Georgia students than city and town individuals. And so that's kind of the history of One West. Jason can talk about the programming. I'm very proud of the programming that's happening off campus as well. And some of you in this room have joined us off campus for programming and, unfortunately, crisis response. And so that's another small component of the relationship. But we do appreciate our relationship greatly, and I'm so glad to see them in audience today.
Stephen, can you give like a 30 seconds if a new campus partner says, I want to work with the One West Partnership, how do we vet them out? Talk about that process.
So now he's capping my time. I love it. We do evaluate that they're a good fit. We do walk their property for safety assessments. We have one property right now that is asked to join this partnership. They're not up there. We make sure they have the staffing requirements to respond to the students appropriately, comparable to what we have on campus, and we make sure that they have a programming model that makes sense. We evaluate their roster database on how many students how many people living on their property are West Georgia students, and we also evaluate their rate structure, that they're not going to be gouging our students. So we're doing all the contractual things that we would do on campus before we vet them out and bring them on board, and then work with them annually to make sure that they aren't taking advantage of our students. And so if we see their policies go up or their eviction procedures go up, and they're not doing it in the best interest of our students, that's when we're going to step in and intercept and try to make sure that it is a good relationship for our off-campus students.
Perfect, thanks Steve. We're talking about this because this is an opportunity for you to give another resource to our students. If a student comes and says, I need to live somewhere on campus, I don't want to live on campus, I need to live somewhere else. You know what, talk to housing. They do have a partnership with 7 apartment complexes that you can go live in. If you want these, I've got plenty of these. If you want to put some in your office, I can give some, I can give to every office if you want. That's a lot, but I can give it to every office if you want. So you can have that resource for our students because that makes them successful. Stephen talked about programming. We do programming out at the complexes. Sometimes, as Stephen mentioned, some of you guys have been out there. That's another resource for our community partners to have. They have a resource thing, but Jason, I need someone from Career Services to talk about resumes. Great, I know exactly who to call, and I'll set that up for you. All they have to do is tell me, and I'll set up the food, I'll set up the vendors, I'll set up everything for them, and all they have to do is show up. So that's a really great community engagement of, if I'm not there, the collaboration is not working. And that's the true meaning of collaboration. If one partner's not there, it's going to fail. Go to that slide. Meaning about programming. Who has heard about Red and Blue Crew? Cassie, I appreciate you. Thanks, Cassie, for raising your hand. I hope everyone raised their hand. So Red and Blue Crew is our new programmatic team. They were created 2 years ago. And so it is a team of student leaders who does all of our events for housing, inside, outside of the department. RA events, football tailgates, and event management for other departments. Sometimes departments like, I don't have anything to do, can you bring your trailer to us? And we can do that. Stephen, can you talk a little bit of history about Red and Blue Crew, where it came from?
So the Red and Blue Crew came out of the Vice President's office for the Pillars of Excellence, and we wanted to know how we can engage with our students differently. And we knew that we need to engage in a more meaningful manner. The Red and Blue Crew actually made sure that we had consistency in our programming efforts. We realized that with our 105 RAs, while they do a phenomenal job floor-to-floor programming, there was a consistency problem in allocating resources such as partnerships with Dine West, or renting equipment on campus, or purchasing obligations. And so the Red and Blue Crew came together to help make and streamline the programming efforts that we were more successful, and that we could deploy ourselves faster for the ultimate goal of connecting with our residents and making sure that there were social interactions, positive social interactions happening on our residence halls. The next slide. Next slide.
So this is our trailer. Yeah, we actually have a trailer, and this is exactly what it looks like. You walk by housing, this is it. Oh, thank you, Linda, 3 minutes. So if you are having an outside event, you're like, hey, we really want to have this. We came out to Spring Fling last year. We brought the trailer out, we saw it out there. It's out at every tailgate. It's out there showing off Red and Blue Crew. You're like, well, it's just a trailer. No, it's not just a trailer. It has lots of stuff inside. Here's everything that's inside the trailer. We have cornhole, we have giant Jenga, we have washers, we have frisbees, footballs, board games, coloring books, everything. The purpose of the trailer is to pull up in front of a building, unload, and let students do whatever they want. You want to
Jason,
color?
Can I check real quick?
Please.
I want to elaborate on another piece of the trailer that I meant to mention earlier and I didn't. This trailer specifically concept actually came from a sociology experiment in Times Square. They brought out a cart of games and put it in the middle of Times Square on a warm sunny afternoon, and they stepped back and watched. And people from all backgrounds came, borrowed games, played frisbee with one another, engaged, socialized, and returned it. Nothing was stolen after 2 weeks of this experiment. And so someone brought that article to me and I said, how awesome is that? How unintentional and unplanned is something such as this nature? So the goal of the trailer specifically is just to put it out on a campus and let students interact with one another, get to know each other, respect one another, begin to communicate with one another in a non-organized fashion. And so Jason and I are very intentional. When the trailer goes out, there's not a lot of messaging behind it. There's not a lot of programming. We want students just to engage with one another, to socialize with one another, hopefully begin to learn to talk to one another and respect one another. So I do appreciate the history behind the trailer. I wanted to pass that out where it came about.
And so these are things that you can use in your department. I think Career Services, I've got an event with you guys next month, and I'm going to bring them cornhole boards and Jenga. Because I said, you have cornhole boards, I said, you know, have Jenga too, and they're like, bring that too. I've just got a sound system that you guys can use. It's really easy. All you have to do is just email me and say, Jason, can we borrow this? Of course you can. This is a collaboration not just for housing, it's for all the student affairs and enrollment management. Because if you look at the trailer, go back one. It's all in there. It's all right there. Right? And what's those values right there? Housing values on the other side, those are student affairs and enrollment management. Right there on the side of the trailer. So, the trailer and the Red and Blue Crew are an opportunity for us to work with you guys because we want to make sure that our students have a great time while they're out there. If you have any questions about One West, if you have any questions about Red and Blue Crew, feel free. I'll be standing in the back afterwards. Email me, Jay Bretsch. There's only 2 Bretches on campus, so one's better looking and smarter than I am. But Red and Blue Crew is here to make you guys successful. We have a team, so you don't have to worry about how do I set up Jenga. I will send people out to you. So, and I yield my time.
And now we're going to move it along, and I'm going to pass it over to a couple of our volunteer ambassadors who's going to talk about the big event.
Hi, so my name is Madison Sayers. I'm Tasha Frazier. Hi, I'm Akeria Hill. And we serve as 3 of the 8 volunteer ambassadors who are helping to execute for the big event. So the big event history goes back to Texas A&M University. It's a way for the students to say thank you and show appreciation during their college careers. It is the largest one-day student-run service in the nation. It began on UWG campus in 2014, and April 6, 2019 will mark the 6th big event at UWG. There are also other institutions that model this day of service, such as University of Central Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, and University of Nebraska, and they will all have their big event on April 6, 2019. So some of our frequently asked questions are, who are our volunteers? Well, our volunteers are students, alumni, faculty, and staff on all levels. And basically our volunteers participate in community tasks, service tasks such as painting, landscaping, and removing trash, visiting visiting with our veteran and senior citizens on the one big day. Our volunteers may go to community agencies such as in Carroll County, Coweta, Heard, and Floyd, and our volunteers travel throughout these counties and communities to nonprofit organizations to impact the area in the biggest ways possible. So some of the social issues that we mostly deal with are the ones on the right, and the ones that are highlighted are the ones that we constantly revisit. So the animal welfare, senior citizens, sexual assault, and our veterans. And this side is our past community partners. This is not our whole list, but just a few of them that we mostly visit with. So the big event, this will be our timelines. From 8 to 9:15, we'll have check-in and our registration. 9 to 9:30, we'll have a nice welcome ceremony. 9:30 to 10, we'll have our project site dismissal, and from 10 to 12:30, we'll be participating in our hours of service. 12:30 to 1, we'll return back to campus, and our volunteers, faculty, and staff will have a reflection, and following students will be encouraged to go to weekend programs through trucks. So how can you get involved? You could be a site leader, or if you advise a student organization, or if your campus department is wanting to get involved, please lead a project. We really encourage it. And serve on the big day as a volunteer participant with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff.
So right here is the big event structure. We have our big event planning committee, which have 3 subcommittees, which is outreach, development, and operation. And as volunteer ambassadors, we oversee the development committee, which train our site leaders. So if you do decide to become a site leader, here are some of the tasks that will be assigned, which is communication between the project site and the big event planning committee, encouraging all our volunteers, serving as a positive representation of UWG and the big event, managing all the project site supplies, leading reflection following the hours of service, arriving early, and attending the mock big event if you're able to. So if you want to become a site leader, here are some of the trainings that you will have to attend, and if you're interested, you can email Kate. And if your campus department or your student organization decides to lead a project, you can do the form on OrgSync, and it's open until March 25th. The name is the Big Event Student Organization and Campus Department Project Site Sign Up. And just know that you'll be required to have a consultation with CSI. Thank you all very much for that. Consider being part of the big event, whether you're just going to come and volunteer that day, if you want to be a site leader. There are also other students that are currently being trained right now as site leaders, so it's a great experience to have. We had a couple staff last year that participated in that role. If you have any questions at all, and this is a lot of information, a brief period of time, I can share that information with the division so you can look at this PowerPoint and go back to it, but always just reach out if you have questions or want more information. Are there one, maybe 2 questions anyone has right now? Well, great. Thank you very much. And before we wrap up, we're going to pass it on over to Monica, who has a couple announcements about Student Achievement Awards.
Hi everyone, my name is Monica Pierrette. I'm coordinator of events, where I'm talking to you guys about the Division Student Achievement Awards. So it's 40 days away, and just to do some quick plugs, we are looking for a student host to host for the first time ever. So you all have awesome student employees, students that you advise. So if you know they have a lot of personality, or they like to be on stage, they have a talent, that's not required. But please encourage them to apply. And the deadline is tomorrow. We have a few, but we would like a few more to apply. On the flip side, pause. If you are on the Student Achievement Award committee, please stand just so everyone can know who's on the committee. So the second piece, tomorrow is also the nominees deadline. And as faculty and staff, you can nominate student orgs, other peers as well. So some of the areas that we really need more nominees for include Outstanding Student Org. Everyone in here knows at least one student org. We're still looking for nominees for Student Org Advisor of the Year, Outstanding Community Service, New Student Organization. That's just to name a few. So please, please take the time today or tomorrow to nominate at least one, because we would like at least a handful in every category. And a lot of departments have different awards that they have on the website. So the way to do that is you can go on the CSI website and look at a quick summary of all the awards. If you scroll down real quick for me, Gabby, thank you. It's categorized at the bottom of all the different awards, and then the way to actually submit a form, you go on OrgSync, CSI website again, and then you fill out a form. It does not take that long at all, and you all are welcome to attend the actual award ceremony, which is on April 16th in the ballroom. So if you guys have any ideas, suggestions, or difficulties, please contact me, but I would love to get some more hosts nominees and some award nominees as well. Thank you.
So please participate in our Student Achievement Awards. It's a way to highlight your departments and showcase the outstanding leadership of our students. On the final announcement, get your pen ready and write this down for me if you can. I'll put it in your phone, whatever you prefer. And I mentioned this earlier, that I could say a few things because Dr. Lingro is not here, and this allows me to say really this one because he wouldn't want me to say it. But I'm going to make sure to let you know and remind you that his reception is March 18th. Is that correct? And it's in the ballroom from 2 to 4 p.m., his farewell reception. And just like we are all here today as part of our all-staff meeting, I want to be encouraging to you to come participate in that, and let's send him off well for the exemplary service and dedicated leadership for student affairs and enrollment management that he's done for many, many years. What a big, good thing for him to walk into a big room of us. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. It's still morning, right? Good into the afternoon. All right.